It was supposed to be a perfect night. Sarah had been chatting with Mark on a dating app for almost a month. He seemed like a nice guy, polite, funny, and always quick with a joke. After a long week at work, she finally agreed to meet him for a simple Netflix and chill night at his apartment. When she arrived, Mark greeted her at the door with a warm smile. His apartment was surprisingly clean, almost too clean. Everything felt staged, like a show home. The couch was perfectly fluffed, candles flickered on the coffee table, and there was even a bowl of popcorn waiting for her. "You really went all out, huh?" Sarah joked. Mark chuckled, but something about his laugh made her skin crawl. They started watching a movie, a classic horror flick. The first hour passed without incident, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Mark kept glancing at his phone, not checking messages, just looking at the screen. At one point, she noticed him unlocking his phone and typing something quickly, his fingers moving faster than normal. "What are you doing?" she asked, half laughing to break the tension. Mark's eyes flicked up, his smile a little too wide. "Just checking something, don't worry." Sarah forced a smile, but her heart started to race. Halfway through the movie, she heard it. A faint scratching sound coming from the hallway closet. Her stomach clenched. "Did you hear that?" Mark didn't even turn his head. Old pipes. But the scratching didn't stop. It was slow, deliberate, like nails dragging against wood. Sarah's eyes stayed locked on the closet door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. "Are you sure no one else is here?" she whispered. Mark finally turned to her, his eyes colder now. "Why would anyone be here?" Her heart pounded. She stood up, trying to keep her voice steady. "I think I should get going. It's late." Mark's smile didn't waver. "But we haven't even finished the movie." Her pulse quickened as she grabbed her purse and made her way toward the front door. It was locked. From the outside. Sarah's breathing grew shallow. Mark leaned back on the couch, casually sipping his wine. No one ever leaves early. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text message from an unknown number. "Don't scream. He hates that." Sarah's heart stopped. Her eyes darted back to the closet. The scratching stopped. Jack had always been a horror movie junkie. Living alone had its perks. No roommates, no interruptions. Just him, his headphones, and Netflix. It was a cold Friday night when he stumbled upon a weird indie horror movie buried deep in Netflix's catalog. It had no trailer, barely any reviews, and a strange title, The Watcher in the Dark. The movie started off like any other found footage film. Shaky camera work, grainy VHS filters, strange whispers in the background. Jack was hooked until the screen glitched. At first, he thought it was part of the movie, but the glitch only lasted for a second, just long enough for Jack to see something that made his blood run cold. It was his own living room. He blinked, unsure if he'd imagined it, but then the movie kept going. A few minutes later, the screen glitched again. This time, the camera was closer. Jack's heart pounded. He paused the movie and glanced around his dark apartment. Nothing. He pressed play again. The movie's footage flickered, showing the same living room. His living room. Only now. There was someone sitting on the couch. Someone wearing his headphones. Jack ripped the headphones off, sweat trickling down his neck. He stood up slowly, every hair on his body standing on end. He turned to the couch behind him. It was empty. His breathing quickened as he grabbed his phone to call the police, but there was no signal. When he looked back at the TV screen, the camera was pointed at his bedroom door, and the door was slowly creeping open. Megan had always been cautious with dating apps. Living alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago, she followed every safety rule. Never share too much information, always meet in public places, and never let anyone know exactly where she lived. Her friends had convinced her to try Tinder after her last breakup, but she only used it to pass the time, never seriously. That Friday night was supposed to be like any other. A glass of wine, a few swipes, and Netflix and chill by herself with a marathon of Stranger Things. It was around 10 p.m. when she matched with Tyler. His profile seemed normal. Dark hair, green eyes, athletic build. His bio was short but friendly. New in town. Looking for someone to chill with. Megan wasn't planning on replying, but something about him seemed different. He wasn't like the other guys who sent creepy pickup lines or begged to come over. His first message was simple. "Hey, what are you watching tonight?" She smiled to herself and typed back, "Stranger Things." "Ever seen it?" Tyler replied, almost instantly. "Great show. Season 3, right?" Megan's fingers froze over the keyboard. How did he know? She glanced at the TV screen. She hadn't mentioned the season. Her heart skipped a beat, but she brushed it off. Lucky guess. They kept chatting for another hour, and slowly, Megan started to let her guard down. He was funny, charming even. Every message made her smile, until his texts became strangely specific. "Only one glass of wine tonight?" Megan's eyes flicked toward the half-empty glass on the coffee table. Her stomach clenched. "How did you know that?" "Just a guess." Her heart started to race, but she tried to play it cool. "Ha, you must be psychic." The next message came through almost immediately. "Maybe I am, or maybe you're just predictable." Megan's smile faded. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she didn't know how to reply. A strange chill crept down her spine as she glanced around her apartment. The sliding glass door was still open, letting in the cool night air. Without thinking, she got up and locked it. Her phone buzzed again. "Good girl, but you forgot the blinds." Megan's heart stopped. Her breath caught in her throat as she spun around. Every window in her apartment was wide open, the thin white curtains billowing in the night breeze. Her mind raced. Was he watching her? Had he been watching her the whole time? With shaking hands, she yanked the blinds shut one by one, every nerve in her body on edge. She grabbed her phone to call the police, but before she could dial, another message appeared. "Don't call anyone, Megan. I'll be gone soon." Her blood turned to ice. She backed into the corner of her living room, her eyes darting from window to window, trying to see any shadow or movement outside. The apartment was deadly silent, except for the faint sound of footsteps coming from the hallway. Her heart hammered in her chest as she clutched her phone, her fingers shaking as she typed, "Who are you? What do you want?" 3 dots appeared. He was typing. Her breath caught in her throat. "Netflix and chill, right?" Megan's stomach dropped. Her whole body froze as she realized he had never asked for her name. She hadn't given him her number. He already knew who she was. The footsteps stopped outside her bedroom door. A slow, heavy knock echoed through the apartment. Megan's heart was pounding so hard she thought it would burst out of her chest. She grabbed the nearest thing she could find, a wine bottle, and crept toward the door, her breath shallow and uneven. Another knock. Louder this time. Her phone buzzed again. One last message. "I'm already inside." A cold wave of terror washed over her. Her shaking hand reached for the doorknob. But when she finally flung the door open, the hallway was empty. Only the faint sound of the TV crackling behind her filled the silence. But there, right on her bed, was a single Polaroid photo. It was a picture of her, sitting on the couch, taken from inside the apartment. Megan never found out who Tyler really was. The police found no fingerprints, no forced entry, nothing. The only thing they discovered was that the Tinder account had been created just a few hours before they matched. and deleted moments after she called the cops. To this day, Megan refuses to use dating apps. And every night, she double-checks the locks. But deep down, she knows he's still out there, watching, waiting. Would you ever swipe right again? And that wraps up 3 terrifying true Netflix horror stories. Proof that sometimes the scariest things don't just happen on screen. From eerie glitches and unsettling recommendations to real-life nightmares unfolding behind the scenes, these stories remind us that horror can creep into our lives when we least expect it. Have you ever had a disturbing experience while watching Netflix? A strange occurrence? A moment that left you questioning reality? Share your story in the comments below. If you love real horror stories, don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow horror fans, and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss another unsettling tale. Because the next time you sit down for a late-night binge, someone or something might be watching you too. Stay safe, and happy streaming if you dare.